Cydectin 10% injection for cattle contains moxidectin, which is capable of killing both internal and external parasites of cattle. It is highly lipophilic, in other words it's very fat-loving. So when it's administered to animals, some of the molecule goes inside the fat and then is slowly released over a prolonged period of time. And it's that slow release that gives the molecule its long persistent action against parasites. A single dose of Cydectin LA for cattle is administered under the skin at the base of the ear.
It's just a small dose at the bottom, right at the fleshy bit at the bottom of the ear. That's it. My son was doing the job. He was doing them as fast as I could get him into the race.
First of all, I'm kind of the SQP for this area. I go out on farm and do some key technical sales, and I've met Dennis over the last few years, and I met him through one of our open days recently where we discussed various programmes for his turnout for his cattle.
And when it's administered in this way, one single dose will protect against infection with a series of different internal and external parasites. So for example, one dose will prevent reinfection with Haemonchus, a parasite that lives in the stomach of cattle, for 90 days. It protects against Osteotargia, the brown stomach worm, and Dictyocaulus, lungworm, for a full 120 days after dosing. And it also protects against another worm, Esophagostomum, that lives in the large bowel of cattle, for a full 150 days after dosing.
We looked at various options. We looked for the cheap and cheerful. We looked at different products which would facilitate his programme, and Dennis said he hasn't got handling facilities out at grass. So we narrowed that down to two different product regimes, which would have been the bolus or the Cydectin LA 10%. Because we were looking at the weight of the animals, and the animals were averaging around 300 kilos, to put a bolus into them animals would have been an £8.50, £9 mark, whereas we looked at the Cydectin LA, and basing that kind of costings, it came out about £6 a beast to give him season-long protection.
All my store cattle graze away from home. So basically we take them there middle of April, and we fetch them back to the middle of October.
The dose volume depends on the weight of the animals. It's 1 ml per 100 kilos. So for example, that means that a 200 kilo animal needs exactly half the dose volume of a 400 kilo animal. And because smaller animals cost you less, it can mean that using Cydectin long-acting injection actually costs less than other season-long control methods. So when a single dose of Cydectin long-acting injection for cattle is administered at turnout, because it has that long persistent activity against worms, it's able to prevent the build-up of infection on the pasture, and as a consequence it can help control stomach worm and lungworm for an entire grazing season.
Well pleased, and we shall use it again in the coming season.
And now with Cydectin LA, we've introduced a season-long satisfaction guarantee.
Cydectin long-acting injection helps provide season-long protection against key cattle parasites from a single injection, and the dose is weight-related, so lighter animals need less, which costs you less. Speak to your animal health supplier about how much you'll save by using Cydectin 10% LA for cattle.